The rain crashed down in violent sheets, drenching the empty streets as Emily struggled forward with her 3 children clinging to her torn coat. Their shoes were soaked, their stomachs empty, and the cold wind cut through their clothes like broken glass. Emily's heart ached with every step, but she refused to stop. She had been evicted just hours earlier, thrown out without pity or warning. No family to call, no money left, no one willing to help a mother of 3 with nowhere to go. Every lightning flash reminded her how exposed they were. Thunder boomed overhead, drowning out the children's shivering whimpers. Emily whispered comforting lies to keep them calm, even as fear gnawed inside her chest. The storm forced them toward the old industrial district of the city, a place long abandoned and avoided by locals. The air smelled metallic and stale, as if rust was rotting beneath the ground itself. Broken windows stared down from buildings like hollow eyes. The children walked silently, exhausted beyond tears. Emily scanned desperately for any place, any corner, any roof, where they could hide from freezing rain. Every alleyway was flooded, every door locked tight. She couldn't let her children collapse in the street. Her vision blurred from hunger and cold, but she forced herself to move. She had failed at everything else today. She would not fail them now. A sudden gust of wind blasted forward, pushing Emily back a step and making little Lily cry out. Emily hugged her close, shielding her from the rain, and that was when she saw it. A rusted metal gate slightly ajar at the base of a steep, muddy slope. It led into darkness, into a narrow opening carved into stone and concrete. It didn't look safe, but neither did the lightning splitting the sky above them. Emily hesitated only a moment before deciding. She guided the children toward the slope, helping them carefully down the slick mud. As they reached the entrance, the wind howled behind them like a warning. Emily ignored it. They needed shelter. They had no other choice. When they stepped into the passage, the air turned cold and still, muffling the storm outside. Emily's weak flashlight created trembling circles of light along old rail tracks buried under layers of dust. The tunnel stretched endlessly ahead, swallowing sound and hope in equal measure. Emily pushed the gate behind her to keep the rain out, but the moment her hand touched it, the metal slammed shut with a deafening clang. The children flinched, and Emily spun around, trying to force it open again. It was stuck, jammed by rust and the fury of the wind. Panic tried to claw its way up her throat, but she swallowed it. She couldn't let her kids see her fear. Not now. They ventured deeper, their footsteps soft against the cold stone floor. The tunnel's silence felt unnatural, as though the air itself was holding its breath. Strange markings covered the walls, long scratches that didn't look like they were made by tools. The children stayed close, clinging to Emily's arms as she scanned the area with her flickering flashlight. Something about this place felt wrong, like it had been abandoned in a hurry. Dust-covered crates lay overturned. Helmets and masks were scattered across the ground, long forgotten. The tunnel looked like the skeleton of a tragedy. Emily wondered what had happened here, and why nobody had ever come back to clean it up. When Emily found the fallen metal plaque, her breath caught in her throat. She wiped the dirt off with her sleeve, revealing faded letters that froze her blood. Blackridge Research Facility, East Access Tunnel. Her heart started beating faster. That name wasn't supposed to be real. Just rumors, urban legends whispered about secret experiments and government cover-ups. Reports had said the facility was destroyed, buried beneath concrete, and forgotten for decades. And yet here she stood in a tunnel connected to it. Emily felt the ground shift beneath her confidence. If the stories were true, then nothing good waited inside these walls. She considered turning back, but the sealed gate behind her made the decision for her. Far ahead, a faint red glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Emily followed the light cautiously, stepping over broken wires and rusted tools. The air grew thicker, heavier, almost humid. The children whispered nervously, but Emily urged them forward. They reached a massive metal door embedded into the tunnel wall. Its thick bolts rusted yet still intact. A weak alarm light blinked above it, barely alive after years of disuse. Beside the door, an old control panel flickered erratically. Emily brushed away the grime and nearly dropped her flashlight when the screen lit up. Someone or something had restored power to this place. Against logic, The facility wasn't fully dead. The panel displayed a chilling message. Clearance override required. Emily felt her breathing quicken. Why would a dead facility require clearance? And if it still did, who or what was it trying to keep locked in or out? A low rumble vibrated through the floor beneath her feet, subtle yet unmistakable, like machinery waking from a long sleep. Emily stepped backward instinctively, pulling the children with her. The air tasted metallic, cold, strangely artificial. She felt something ancient stirring behind the door, something that hadn't moved in years. And as much as she wanted to deny it, she sensed that her arrival had triggered it. The door hissed. A slow, ominous exhale of air escaped through its edges as gears deep within the walls creaked to life. The children clung tightly to Emily, trembling. Her flashlight flickered violently, struggling to stay lit. Emily's instinct screamed at her to run, but there was nowhere to go. Behind them was a sealed gate. Ahead was a door opening into an unknown darkness. The ground trembled again, stronger this time. Something massive shifted beyond the metal. Something alive, or something made to seem alive. Emily braced herself, shielding her children as best she could. The door began to slide open, revealing a pitch-black corridor beyond. Emily swallowed hard, knowing this was the moment where everything would change. Her voice trembled as she whispered into the void, hoping for courage she didn't have. Before we go deeper, subscribe. Stay with us. We'll need every light we can get. Her words echoed softly as the metal door finished opening. The darkness inside seemed to breathe. Something waited for them, and the true nightmare was only beginning. The air grew colder as Emily walked deeper into darkness, every step echoing like a warning against the walls of the tunnel. The faint light from the broken overhead lamps flickered unpredictably, revealing rusted pipes and strange markings scratched along the stone. Her heart pounded as she held her youngest daughter close to her chest, trying to keep the children calm despite her own rising panic. The silence behind them felt heavy, as if the hole that sealed their exit was an intentional trap. Emily tried to ignore the unsettling feeling that someone or something wanted them inside. The deeper she went, the more distant the outside world felt. She whispered soothing words to her kids, but her voice trembled. The tunnel smelled of earth, metal, and something faintly rotten. She kept moving, because stopping meant letting fear swallow them whole. A soft rumble suddenly vibrated beneath their feet, causing the children to cling to Emily's clothes. Dust stirred from above, drifting like ashes from an unseen fire. She looked upward, noticing the ceiling cracked in several places, as if the entire structure were under tremendous pressure. The sound faded, but the dread it left behind stayed firmly lodged in her chest. Emily scanned the walls again, noticing more of those strange symbols carved at shoulder height, some smeared as if by a shaking hand. She didn't know if they were warnings or directions. Her mind searched for logic. Maybe kids had done it, maybe it was graffiti, but the shapes felt too deliberate, too ancient. A drip of water struck her shoulder, cold and sharp, making her shiver. She urged the children to stay close, repeating that everything would be fine despite not believing her own reassurance. They turned a corner, entering a section of the tunnel where the lights were completely dead. Emily hesitated, gripping the thin flashlight she had taken from her bag. The beam was weak, flickering like a dying candle, but it was the only source of light they had. As she raised it, the darkness retreated just enough to reveal a narrow metal door halfway embedded in the wall. It looked out of place, newer than the surrounding stone, yet dust-covered as if untouched for years. Her oldest son reached out to touch it, but she quickly pulled his hand away. Something about the door felt wrong. The temperature around it seemed colder, almost unnaturally so. Emily pressed her ear against the metal, listening for any sound from the other side. At first there was nothing, then a faint tapping, slow, rhythmic, and undeniably intentional. Emily jerked back, nearly dropping the flashlight. Her children stared at her with wide, frightened eyes, asking what she heard, but she couldn't bring herself to explain. The tapping stopped, replaced by a low scraping sound that traveled across the other side of the metal. She stepped backward, pulling her children away from the door, her instinct screaming that whatever was behind it wasn't human, or at least not human anymore. When the scraping stopped, the silence that followed was even worse. Emily forced herself to look confident, pushing them forward down the tunnel. Her footsteps grew faster, almost frantic, as she tried to create distance from the disturbing presence behind the metal door. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had been noticed, marked somehow by entering that part of the tunnel. As they progressed, the tunnel widened into a cavernous chamber. The flashlight illuminated massive support beams towering above them like the ribs of some enormous, buried creature. Old mining carts lay overturned, as if abandoned mid-escape. Emily felt the air shift, thicker, heavier, with a faint chemical odor that made her throat burn. She wondered how far this place extended, and why no one had ever mentioned it to the community. Her stomach tightened. Maybe people had mentioned it. But no one lived long enough to tell the full story. Her children coughed, and she wrapped her scarf around their noses, guiding them to the far end of the chamber. Strange metallic tools lay scattered across the ground, unfamiliar in shape and sharp in ways that made her uneasy. In the far corner of the chamber, they spotted another tunnel branching downward at an incline. A faint light pulsed from within, soft, bluish, like a heartbeat glowing through the stone. Emily hesitated. Going down felt dangerous, but staying where they were felt worse. She whispered to her children that they had to keep going, promising they were getting closer to an exit even though she had no proof. As they approached the glowing passage, a soft humming sound drifted through the air, not mechanical, more like a distant choir singing a single, continuous note. The sound made Emily's skin crawl. Her daughter covered her ears, whimpering as the resonance grew stronger. Emily held her hand, whispering comfort, even as her own ears rang in protest. The glow illuminated the path just enough for Emily to see deep grooves carved along the floor. They resembled claw marks, long, uneven, and dug so deeply that the stone had cracked around each one. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She told herself they could have been made by machinery or old mining equipment, but the pattern was too organic, too savage. Her middle child froze, staring at the marks with trembling lips, asking if animals lived down here. Emily squeezed his hand tightly, urging him not to think about that. Her intuition screamed that the creature, or whatever made those marks, still roamed somewhere in the darkness. The humming sound intensified as they moved deeper, vibrating through their bones. Soon they reached a section of the tunnel where the walls glistened with moisture, reflecting the blue light in eerie patterns. The humming abruptly stopped, leaving a crushing silence that made their ears ring. Emily paused, sensing that they had crossed some invisible threshold. She looked behind them, feeling as though the darkness had shifted, as if shadows were slowly creeping closer. Then, far down the passage they had come from, she saw it, a brief flash of movement, too fast to identify, but unmistakably large. Her heart jumped. She whispered for the children to run quietly, pushing them forward as she kept glancing back, hoping the creature wouldn't emerge fully into view. Just as they began to move faster, the ground trembled once more. Dust rained from above, and the sound of twisting metal echoed behind them. Emily nearly stumbled, but kept her grip firm on her children. A distant roar, deep guttural and filled with rage, rolled through the tunnel. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything she recognized. Her youngest child screamed, and Emily covered her mouth gently, whispering that everything would be okay even as fear consumed her. The roar came again, closer this time, shaking the air like thunder trapped underground. Emily ran, her legs burning, driven by pure instinct to protect her children from whatever was coming. They emerged into another chamber, this one smaller and filled with abandoned crates. Emily pushed the children behind a stack and crouched with them, covering their bodies with her arms. Her pulse hammered in her ears as heavy footsteps echoed from the tunnel behind them. Slow, deliberate, powerful. The creature's breathing filled the space, loud and animalistic, as if sniffing the air. Emily held her breath, praying they were hidden well enough. The footsteps stopped just outside the chamber. For a moment, everything went terribly still. Then silence. The creature retreated, its steps fading back into the tunnel. Emily exhaled shakily, tears of relief welling in her eyes. But she knew one thing for certain. Whatever hunted this place had just marked them, and it wasn't going to give up easily. Emily waited several minutes before daring to move, her ears straining for any sign that the creature was still nearby. The children huddled against her, trembling but silent, trusting her completely despite the terror etched into their faces. The chamber felt claustrophobic, the air thick with dust and a metallic scent of rusting crates. When she finally stood, her knees almost buckled, but she steadied herself, determined not to show fear. She whispered that they had to keep going, that stopping meant letting danger find them again. As she lifted the flashlight, the beam caught a faint chalk drawing on one of the crates, a symbol, the same one from the earlier walls. Her skin prickled as she realized the markings weren't random. They were warnings placed everywhere the danger was strongest. She approached the crate cautiously, tracing the symbol with her fingertip. The chalk felt fresh, not decades old like the tunnel itself. Someone had been here recently. Someone who knew the dangers lurking below. Emily opened the lid of the crate, praying for something, anything, useful. Inside lay stacks of old documents wrapped in plastic, their corners curled from moisture. She pulled a few free, scanning the faded text. Words like extraction zone, containment failure, and biological anomaly leapt off the page. A chill traveled down her spine. This wasn't a mining tunnel. It was something far more secretive, something intentionally hidden. She tucked the documents into her bag, knowing they were pieces of a truth she hadn't yet grasped. Her oldest son pointed to the far wall, where a narrow passageway angled upward. Unlike the others, this one had wooden planks along the ground, almost like makeshift steps. Emily felt a surge of hope. Maybe it led closer to the surface. She urged the children onward, keeping the flashlight steady even as her nerves frayed at the edges. The moment they entered the passage, the air changed, cooler, less dense, almost breathable. It felt like escaping suffocation, and Emily let out a shaky sigh of relief. But the walls of the passage bore more carvings, deeper and more frantic this time. Some resembled hands, others claws, and a few looked unmistakably like skulls. Emily kept the children from staring too long, worried the imagery alone would haunt them. The group climbed for several minutes before reaching a fork in the passage. One route led into complete darkness. The stone walls jagged like broken teeth. The other glowed faintly with the same eerie blue light they had seen earlier. Emily hesitated. The blue light felt wrong on an instinctive level, like walking towards something alive and aware. But the pitch-black path felt equally dangerous, promising unseen horrors. Before she could choose, a faint breeze drifted from the dark tunnel. Fresh air. Real, fresh air. Emily made the decision instantly. She guided her children down the dark path, trusting the oxygen-rich draft more than the supernatural glow behind them. The flashlight flickered again, and Emily shook it desperately. Without it, they would be walking blind. The darkness was thick, swallowing the light at the edges like something hungry. As they advanced, the tunnel sloped upward, and the air grew even fresher. Emily's hopes soared. Maybe they were truly getting closer to an exit. But the optimism didn't last. The slope suddenly ended at a large, grated metal door blocking their path. It was reinforced, bolted, and clearly designed to keep something in or out. Emily rattled it desperately, but it didn't budge. Her children cried softly behind her, exhaustion finally catching up. Emily rested her forehead against the cold metal, fighting back tears. Escape was so close, yet impossibly far. Then, as if responding to her despair, a faint buzzing sound emanated from a rusted control panel mounted beside the door. Emily wiped the dust from its surface, revealing a keypad and a single blinking light. The keypad didn't look functional, but the blinking light suggested the system wasn't entirely dead. She pressed a few keys, but nothing happened. Her youngest child tugged her sleeve, pointing at a faded note taped beneath the panel. The paper was torn, water-stained, but one line remained legible. The code is written where the dead were buried. Emily swallowed hard. Dead? Buried? She scanned the darkness behind them, realizing they needed to find the graves, or whatever counted as graves in this horrifying place. Reluctantly, they retraced their steps, moving back toward the intersection of paths. Emily's mind raced. The carvings of skulls, the warnings, the documents in her bag, referring to containment. All of it pointed to something catastrophic having happened in this underground labyrinth. As they neared the blue glowing passage again, Emily noticed something she had missed before, a rusted plaque embedded in the stone at knee level. She crouched, brushing away years of dirt. Words slowly emerged. Memorial Chamber 03. Her stomach twisted. This was it, the place where the dead were buried. She took a shaky breath and motioned for her children to stay close as they stepped toward the glowing path, the one she had hoped they could avoid. The deeper they went, the brighter the glow became, casting haunting shadows that danced across the uneven stone. The walls widened into a circular chamber lined with dozens of metal containers stacked like coffins. Some were sealed, others lay open, revealing only scraps of decayed cloth and dried stains Emily refused to identify. The blue light emanated from tall crystalline structures embedded in the center of the room, pulsing rhythmically like slow heartbeats. Emily's skin crawled. Whatever those crystals were, they were not natural. Her middle child whispered that he felt sick, and Emily pulled him closer, knowing they couldn't stay long. She scanned each coffin-like container, searching for numbers, codes, anything that could unlock the metal door they'd encountered earlier. At the back of the chamber, she found it, scratched haphazardly into the lid of a sealed container. 4137. The numbers looked recent, carved with urgency, as if someone had left a clue just before sealing the coffin. Emily repeated the numbers under her breath, committing them to memory. She didn't want to imagine who had written them or what they had witnessed. The moment she turned to leave, the crystalline structures flickered violently, as if reacting to their presence. A deep rumble echoed from somewhere beneath the chamber floor. Emily grabbed her children and ran, refusing to look back even when a loud crack split the air. They sprinted out of the chamber, the blue glow flashing erratically behind them like lightning trapped underground. The rumbling intensified, followed by a distant roar, one she recognized instantly. The creature, it was awake again, and this time it was enraged. Emily's heart hammered as they reached the metal door once more. Her fingers flew across the keypad, entering the numbers with trembling hands. For a tense second, nothing happened. Then, click, the bolts began to release. The children gasped with relief as the heavy door creaked open just enough for them to slip through. Emily pulled it shut behind them, her breath shaking. They were safer now, but the dangerous truth buried in these tunnels was only beginning to surface. The metal door slammed shut behind them with a deafening echo, and Emily leaned against it, breathless, her hands trembling uncontrollably. The children clung to her legs, their faces pale and streaked with dirt. The corridor ahead was narrow but blessedly silent, illuminated only by thin slits of dim yellow light embedded along the ceiling. For the first time since entering the tunnels, the air didn't feel oppressive. Emily inhaled shakily, trying to calm her racing heart. She had no idea how long the reinforced door would hold, nor how intelligent the creature was. She only knew one thing: they needed to move quickly. She whispered reassurance to her children and urged them forward, praying each step would bring them closer to safety and not into another nightmare. The corridor sloped gently upward, giving Emily a faint sense of hope. The walls were smoother here, less carved by claws and more constructed, like part of an old facility rather than a mine. Strange machines lined the sides, tall metal cylinders with blinking lights and screens covered in dust. Some emitted faint mechanical hums, like they were still partially functioning despite their age. Emily avoided getting too close, feeling uneasy about what they might have been used for. Were they part of whatever biological anomaly the documents mentioned? The thought sent chills down her spine. She tightened her grip on her flashlight and walked faster. The children followed closely, occasionally glancing nervously at the dormant machines, as if expecting them to suddenly come alive. Eventually, the corridor widened into a sterile-looking hallway with metal floors and long, dark glass windows. Emily hesitated, her nerves prickling, before wiping the grime from one of the windows with her sleeve. When the interior became visible, she gasped quietly. Rows of empty containment pods lined the room beyond the glass. Pods large enough to hold a person, each equipped with tubes, restraints, and sensors. Some were shattered from the inside, Others were smeared with the same strange residue she had seen near the claw marks. Her stomach nodded. This wasn't a simple underground facility. It was a laboratory. And whatever was being contained here had escaped long ago, or hadn't been alone. She stepped back, shielding the children from the sight, though the horror etched on her face told them enough. As they continued down the hallway, a distant alarm suddenly crackled to life, its weak, distorted beeping echoing through the vents. Emily froze, unsure whether it meant danger or something else. The lights along the walls flickered, casting long shadows that made the hallway appear alive. Her daughter asked what was happening, and Emily forced herself to sound confident, saying the alarm was just old equipment malfunctioning. But the truth nagged at her. Something must have triggered it. The sound grew louder for a moment, then abruptly cut off, leaving behind an eerie silence. Emily swallowed hard, feeling as though the facility itself was waking up after years of slumber. She urged the children forward before anything else could activate. They reached another fork, one hallway leading into darkness, the other faintly illuminated by a pulsing red light. Emily approached the red glow cautiously. Painted on the wall beside was a faded sign, Research Wing B, authorized personnel only. The door beneath the light was slightly ajar. Emily's instinct screamed to avoid anything connected to research, but the darkness of the other hallway felt equally dangerous. She pushed the door gently. It creaked loudly, echoing far too long for comfort. The room beyond was cluttered with overturned chairs, broken monitors, and scattered papers. It looked as if people had fled in a hurry. Emily stepped inside carefully, scanning for anything useful, maps, instructions, weapons, anything that could help them survive. On one of the cracked computer screens, a single document was still open, its text barely legible through the static and flickering pixels. Emily leaned closer, reading the words aloud under her breath. Phase 3 mutations show increased aggression and heightened sensory perception. Avoid prolonged exposure. All personnel must evacuate if containment integrity fails. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't a natural creature haunting the tunnels. It was created, designed. The thought made her nauseous. How many phases were there, and which one was hunting them now? She scrolled the document, but the system froze, then shut down completely. The room plunged into silence once more. Emily exhaled shakily, realizing they had unknowingly wandered into the heart of a nightmare decades in the making. Just as she turned to leave, a metallic clatter echoed from the hallway outside. Emily froze, motioning for the children to stay silent. She peeked through the crack of the doorway, her pulse racing. To her horror, she saw a tall, shadowy silhouette move briefly past the entrance, too large to be human, its head nearly scraping the ceiling. Its gait was slow but purposeful, as if sniffing the air, tracking something. Emily clapped a hand over her mouth to muffle her gasp. The creature was here, inside the facility. She pressed her back against the wall, praying it wouldn't sense them. For several agonizing seconds, the silhouette paused at the intersection of the hallways. Then, mercifully, it turned and continued down the opposite corridor. Emily waited until the sound of its footsteps faded before guiding her children silently out of the room. They slipped into the darker hallway this time, hoping the creature would not double back. The air grew colder the deeper they went, and thin wisps of fog drifted along the floor like pale fingers. Emily didn't understand where the cold was coming from, but she didn't dare question it. She moved quickly, guided by instinct alone. Eventually, they stumbled upon a heavy steel door with a broken window near the top. Emily peered through the shattered glass, spotting what looked like an office on the other side. Papers everywhere, filing cabinets overturned, and a faint light blinking from a console in the back. It wasn't ideal, but it was shelter. She pushed the door open carefully, ushering her children inside and closing it behind them as quietly as possible. Emily scanned the office, her eyes landing on a large map mounted on the wall. Dust and torn sticky notes covered parts of it, but she could still make out the layout. The tunnels, the laboratories, the containment sectors, and something else. A long, winding line marked service exit route. Her heart leapt. An exit, a real one. She traced the route with her finger, committing the twists and turns to memory. But as she studied the map, Another detail caught her eye. A section labeled restricted, Project Orphean. It was circled in red ink. She didn't know what it meant, but the name alone filled her with dread. Whatever Project Orphean was, it was connected to the creature, and maybe to why the facility was abandoned. Before she could investigate further, a loud crash reverberated through the hallway outside. This one was closer, far too close. Emily's breath caught. The creature had returned, and it was no longer wandering. It was searching, hunting. She grabbed the children's hands, whispered for them to stay silent, and extinguished the flashlight. Darkness enveloped them, but she kept her eyes fixed on the door, heart pounding violently against her ribs. Heavy footsteps approached, shaking the floor beneath them. Then the creature's shadow filled the crack under the door. Emily held her breath, her arms wrapped protectively around her children. The shadow lingered, then moved on. Emily didn't relax. She knew the creature had sensed them, and next time they might not be so lucky. Emily led her children cautiously through the dark corridor. The memory of the creature's shadow etched into her mind. Every step echoed, amplified by the hollow walls, making her fear they could be heard from far away. The air grew damp and heavy, and the faint scent of decay mingled with the metallic tang of old machinery. Her flashlight flickered intermittently, creating ghostly illusions along the walls. She whispered to the children to stay close, warning them not to make a sound. The passages twisted and turned, labyrinthine in design, as if intentionally constructed to confuse and trap intruders. Each corner they passed held shadows that seemed to watch them. Emily's mind raced with strategies, tried to anticipate every possible danger in the unknown labyrinth. The narrow passage suddenly opened into a small chamber filled with broken equipment and scattered files. Emily crouched to examine them, hoping for anything that could guide them to safety. Some papers were stamped with symbols she didn't recognize, others labeled with words like biological containment and Orphean unit. Her stomach twisted as she realized the same name kept appearing. This facility had been experimenting on something or someone. Her heart raced with dread. The children looked at her, waiting for guidance. She gathered as many documents as she could carry, hoping they contained answers. Every rustle of paper echoed ominously through the tunnel, reminding her of the danger waiting outside the chamber. As they continued, the corridor narrowed into a steep staircase descending further underground. Emily's flashlight illuminated water-stained walls and cracked metal pipes overhead. Her children followed silently, their hands gripping hers tightly. The sense of being watched never left her. Shadows seemed to move independently of her movements. Every footstep felt like an alarm. The deeper they went, the stronger the metallic smell became, mingled with something she couldn't identify, something that made her stomach churn. The walls were lined with more carvings, scratches resembling desperate hands and jagged symbols. Emily tried to push the fear aside, but it clung to her like a second skin, suffocating yet impossible to ignore. Suddenly, a faint, pulsing glow appeared at the end of the stairwell. Emily motioned for the children to stay low and move slowly. The glow intensified as they approached, revealing a partially open door. Beyond it, a chamber radiated a cold, bluish light. Emily could make out the shapes of strange crystalline structures embedded in the walls, pulsating like artificial hearts. She felt the hairs on her neck rise. There was life here, but not human life. She pushed forward cautiously, dragging the children behind her. The hum of the crystals was low but pervasive, vibrating through their bones. Emily's pulse raced as she tried to rationalize the impossible. She had stumbled into a chamber of secrets, and every instinct screamed that what lay ahead was deadly. Inside the chamber, the crystalline structures cast eerie shadows across piles of abandoned containment units. Emily recognized the markings on some of the units from the documents she had gathered earlier. The labels hinted at experiments, mutations, and containment breaches. Her stomach churned as she realized the full horror. The creature chasing them was not a wild animal, but a creation of this very facility. It had been engineered, its aggression enhanced, its intelligence heightened. Emily swallowed hard, struggling to keep her children calm. Then, almost instinctively, she whispered to the audience, "Before we go deeper into the heart of this mystery, subscribe and stay with us." The truth is about to get even darker. Her voice trembled, but the words felt necessary, like an anchor in the growing darkness. The children clung to Emily as they edged past the containment units, careful not to make a sound. Emily's mind raced with plans to escape, but every exit they found seemed blocked or leading further into unknown dangers. The blue light reflected off the crystalline structures, creating illusions of movement. Shadows flickered across the walls, and Emily thought she saw figures shifting just beyond the reach of the flashlight. She froze, heart hammering, until she realized it was just the crystal's pulsation. But the feeling of being surrounded persisted, suffocating. The labyrinth was alive in its own way, and Emily understood that moving too fast or too slow could cost them everything. Ahead, a series of doors marked Orphean Unit. Containment Level 3 caught her attention. Emily approached cautiously, examining the locking mechanisms. One of the doors was slightly ajar, revealing a dark interior. Inside, faint movement suggested that something or someone was still alive. Emily's heart clenched as the realization hit her. The experiments were ongoing and some subjects had survived. The chamber exuded a low, menacing hum that made the hair on her arms stand on end. She had glimpsed the consequences of the facility's experiments, and it terrified her. She motioned for her children to stay quiet. Their small bodies pressed against hers. Every second counted. Every noise could awaken the horrors lurking nearby. Suddenly, a metallic clang echoed from a distant corridor, causing Emily to spin around. Shadows danced along the walls, stretching and twisting unnaturally. She clutched her children and pressed them against the wall. Their small faces were pale, wide-eyed with fear, but Emily forced herself to remain calm. The sound grew louder, accompanied by an eerie, guttural noise that resonated to the tunnel like the roar of some ancient predator. The creature was near. Emily felt her pulse spike, fear and adrenaline blending into a sharp edge of determination. She had to keep moving, keep the children safe, and survive long enough to uncover the full secret of this cursed place. They slipped through a narrow passage leading to a small control room. Screens flickered, some still operational, displaying maps of the tunnels and blinking red dots marking containment sectors. Emily studied the maps quickly, memorizing the route that could lead them toward the service exit. Her mind raced as she pieced together the facility's layout. Every corridor, every door, every containment area told a story of secrecy, experimentation, and disaster. The humming of distant machinery reminded her that whatever creature they were running from could strike at any moment. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. The truth was here, just beyond these walls, waiting to be revealed. Emily led her children toward a reinforced door at the end control room. As she inserted the code she had discovered earlier, the lock clicked, granting them passage. The door creaked open, revealing a descending ramp lined with flickering lights. Relief washed over her briefly, but she knew it was temporary. The creature would not give up easily, and beyond this ramp lay the core of the facility's secrets. Secrets that could explain the origins of the monstrous being hunting them, and the terrifying experiments conducted within these walls. She whispered for the children to stay close, their small hands gripping hers tightly. The ramp beckoned, and Emily knew that every step forward brought them closer to a revelation that would change everything. Emily led her children cautiously down the ramp, the flickering lights casting long, erratic shadows along the walls. Each step echoed ominously, the sound bouncing to the tunnels like a warning. Her grip on their hands tightened, a silent promise of protection. The air grew colder, heavier, carrying a metallic tang that made her stomach churn. In the distance, she noticed a large, reinforced door marked Authorized Personnel, Orphean Central. Her heart lurched. This had to be the source of the facility's darkest secrets. She whispered a steadying promise to the children, masking her fear. The corridors narrowed as they approached, the walls almost alive with the low hum of machinery. Every instinct screamed danger. Every step felt like crossing a line from which there was no return. The reinforced door loomed before them, massive and imposing, its surface scratched and dented as though countless attempts had been made to breach it. Emily's flashlight illuminated the faded warning etched in metal. Enter at your own risk. She swallowed hard, glancing at her children's anxious faces. There was no turning back now. Using the code she had memorized from the memorial chamber, she pressed the sequence into the rusty keypad. The locks clicked and whirred, grudgingly granting access. As the door slowly swung open, a gust of cold, stale air spilled into the corridor. The children shivered, clutching her hands tighter. Emily took a deep breath and whispered, "Stay close. We're almost there, and be ready for the truth." Inside, the room stretched impossibly wide, illuminated by an eerie, bluish light emanating from massive crystalline structures embedded into the walls. The hum of machinery and energy pulsed through the chamber like a heartbeat. Emily's eyes widened as she surveyed the area. Containment units, some open, some sealed, arranged like silent sentinels. Papers and folders littered the floor, and strange instruments lay scattered as if hastily abandoned. Her pulse raced. This room wasn't just part of the lab. It was the epicenter, the heart of Project Orpheon. She realized, with growing horror, that the creature hunting them was one of many experiments conducted here. Her mind struggled to comprehend the scale of what had been unleashed decades ago. Emily moved cautiously among containment units, noting the markings and labels. Many bore strange symbols and numerical codes. One unit pulsed with a dim blue glow, the energy inside faintly moving, almost like it was alive. Her stomach twisted in fear. She bent over a console and brushed away years of dust, revealing schematics and operational files detailing enhanced subjects, genetic augmentation, and behavioral conditioning. The words confirmed her worst fear. The facility had been experimenting on human subjects. The creature outside was no accident. It was a result of deliberate, unethical experiments. Emily's hands shook as she gathered the documents, realizing they were holding proof of horrors hidden for decades. Suddenly, a distant clatter echoed from the far side of the chamber, followed by the unmistakable low growl of the creature. Emily froze, her heart hammering violently in her chest. She whispered to her children to hide behind one of the containment units, covering their bodies with her own. The air seemed to vibrate with tension, and every instinct screamed that movement could mean death. Shadows danced along the walls, distorted by the pulsing light of the crystals. Emily's mind raced, trying to formulate a plan to escape. She realized that the creature wasn't just hunting them. It was guarding the secrets of this room. Whatever Project Orpheon had created, it was alive, intelligent, and lethal. Emily whispered urgently, guiding her children toward a narrow side passage partially concealed by debris. She led them carefully, making as little noise as possible. The creature's growls echoed through the chamber, followed by the sound of heavy claws scraping the floor. She felt the vibrations in her chest, each step sending tremors of fear through her body. The documents in her bag seemed heavier with every heartbeat, as if the knowledge they contained carried a tangible weight. They reached the passage and squeezed through, the shadows pressing around them. Emily dared to glance back. The creature was circling, searching. Its glowing eyes caught the flicker of light from the crystals. Emily's breath caught. They had been seen, but somehow it hesitated. The side passage led into a smaller chamber filled with skeletal remains and broken containment pods. Emily's children recoiled, but she forced them to keep moving. She noticed names scrawled on the walls, dates etched beside them. These were the victims, the subjects of Orpheon. Her stomach churned. The facility hadn't just created one creature. It had experimented on dozens, some perishing in the process, some surviving. The realization filled her with dread. Project Orpheon was far larger and far more horrifying than she had imagined. Each skeleton, each discarded pod, was a testament to the cruelty of what had been done here. Emily clenched her fists, anger and fear mingling into a cold resolve. She had to survive, not just for her children, but to expose the truth. At the far end of the chamber, Emily spotted a heavily reinforced glass window. Behind it, a massive containment unit pulsed with energy. Inside, a figure stirred. Its movements were subtle, almost controlled, but unmistakably alive. Emily's breath caught. The subject was not fully monstrous, not yet, but the hints of enhanced power and predatory instincts were terrifying. She realized that the creature that had been chasing them might have once been like this, grown and altered beyond human recognition. Emily felt a chill wash over her. The revelations of the chamber were overwhelming, but there was more to uncover. She had to understand the full scope of the project before they could hope to escape. As she moved closer to examine the containment unit, her flashlight flickered. The creature outside had returned, its roar echoing through the tunnels with bone-shaking force. Emily froze, pressing herself against the wall, her children silent behind her. The unit's occupant stirred, its eyes glowing faintly in response to the sound. Emily realized with terror that the creature might be drawn to energy, to life, aware of their presence and capable of tracking them precisely. She whispered to her children to stay calm, hiding them behind containment units. Every muscle in her body tensed. The corridor outside seemed to vibrate with the creature's movement. Escape was near, but only if they could outsmart something designed to hunt and kill. Emily knew they couldn't stay. She gathered the children, clutching the documents tightly, and whispered a plan. They would follow the service exit route marked on the maps, moving as quietly as possible while avoiding the main corridors. Her pulse raced as they slipped past the edge of the chamber, every sound magnified in the silence. Behind them, the creature's roar faded but didn't disappear. Emily dared to hope, but only slightly. The true horrors of Project Orpheum were partially revealed, but the ultimate secret, the one that explained everything, still awaited them further in the tunnels. She adjusted her grip on the children, took a deep breath, and led them onward toward the next stage of terror and revelation. Emily led her children carefully along the service exit corridor, the walls narrowing and the air growing colder with every step. The map she memorized guided them through twists and turns, but every shadow seemed alive. The low hum of machinery followed them, almost imperceptible, until it crescendoed into a deep growl that reverberated through the stone. Emily froze, listening as her oldest whispered, "Mom, it's coming." She clenched his hand tighter, pushing forward silently. Every instinct screamed to run faster, but she knew panic speed could alert the creature. She adjusted the flashlight, illuminating the path just enough to see the uneven floors, and urged the children to trust her. Each breath felt heavy, every step a gamble with death. Ahead, the corridor opened into a massive chamber partially collapsed from years of neglect. Rubble littered the floor and jagged metal beams protruded from the walls like skeletal fingers. Emily scanned the area, heart hammering, and spotted a narrow gap along the far wall, barely wide enough for them to slip through. But the creature had already detected them. From the shadows, a guttural roar echoed, and a massive figure emerged, its glowing eyes fixed on them. Emily's pulse raced as the children pressed against her. The beast's movements were deliberate, calculated, almost intelligent. She realized with a cold dread that it had been hunting humans for decades, trained by the very experiments that had birthed it. There was no turning back now. They squeezed the narrow gap, Emily pushing Rubble aside, ignoring the cuts it inflicted on her hands. Behind them, the creature roared again, smashing through debris in pursuit. Her youngest cried softly, and she whispered soothingly while running, masking her own terror. Every instinct screamed to flee faster, but the path twisted sharply, forcing them to move cautiously. Emily's mind raced. She needed a plan, a way to survive long enough to expose the truth. The documents she carried burned in her bag, proof of Project Orpheum's horrors, yet she had no time to read them now. Survival came first. The roar behind them grew louder, closer, shaking the very walls of the tunnel. A sudden door appeared ahead, partially ajar and swinging on broken hinges. Emily yanked it open, revealing a small, dimly lit maintenance room. The children ducked inside, gasping for air, as Emily barricaded the door with rusted shelves. The creature pounded against it from the other side, its weight causing vibrations through the floor. Emily's hands trembled as she pressed her body against the barrier, shielding the children. Her mind reeled with fear and the growing realization of what Project Orpheum had truly created. The experiment had produced more than one monster. This one was intelligent, aware, and now enraged. She whispered, trying to steady her voice, "We're almost out. We just need to be smart." Emily scanned the room for anything useful, her flashlight landing on a small maintenance hatch in the floor. It was partially hidden beneath debris, but large enough for the children to fit through. She checked it, peering into the darkness below, and felt a cold shiver. The hatch led to a narrow service tunnel that appeared to extend toward the surface. It was her only chance. She lifted the children one by one, guiding them carefully down into the pitch-black passage. The creature's roars reverberated above, shaking the walls and floor. Emily moved quickly, silently praying the structure would hold. Every inch of progress felt like a victory against the monstrosity pursuing them. As they descended deeper into the service tunnel, Emily noticed fresh markings on the walls, warnings carved in haste. Some were arrows, some were cryptic symbols, all indicating danger. The realization hit her. Others had been here, trapped, trying to escape the facility, and they hadn't survived. She tightened her grip on her children, her mind racing. The truth of Project Orpheum was horrifying. People had been experimented on, mutated, and left to die in the tunnels. The creature that had hunted them was one of the survivors. Her heart ached for those who had come before them, and she swore silently she would survive not only for her children, but to bring the truth to light. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber with a faint emergency exit sign flickering above a distant door. Relief surged through Emily, but it was short-lived. A low, menacing growl echoed from behind, a reminder that the creature was still following. She whispered to the children to move quietly, holding them close. The pulsing glow of crystals embedded in the walls lit the path faintly, revealing the jagged remains of containment units and discarded equipment. Emily's heart sank as she realized that the closer they got to the exit, the more secrets of the Orphean experiments were revealed. She forced herself to focus, memorizing every detail for later, knowing this evidence could expose decades of horror. They moved carefully toward the exit door, but the creature suddenly appeared at the far end of the chamber. Its glowing eyes locked onto them, and a roar shook the walls. Emily froze, calculating their next move. She realized the creature had adapted, responding to their movements with intelligence. There was no way to outrun it in the open chamber. Thinking quickly, she grabbed a rusted pipe from the floor and threw it toward a cluster of machinery, causing a loud clang. The creature hesitated, distracted momentarily. Emily seized the opportunity, urging the children forward. Their tiny hands gripped hers tightly as they sprinted, hearts hammering in unison. They reached the exit door, and Emily's hands shook as she fumbled with the handle. The creature roared behind them, pounding against the walls, its claws scraping dangerously close. Finally, the door gave way, swinging open into a narrow stairwell leading to the surface. Emily pulled her children inside, slamming the door behind them. The creature howled in frustration, but the reinforced metal held. Exhausted and trembling, they climbed the final steps toward freedom. As they emerged into fresh night air, Emily gasped for breath, tears streaming down her face. The storm outside had passed, leaving a quiet, eerie calm. She clutched her children close, realizing they had survived the nightmare. But the truth of the Orphean experiments still weighed heavily on her. Outside, Emily looked back at the hidden entrance, the darkness concealing the horrors beneath. She realized the documents she carried held undeniable proof of Project Orpheum's deadly experiments. The creature, the tunnels, the victims. It was all part of a conspiracy decades in the making. Her children clung to her, exhausted but alive. Emily knew they had survived by sheer will, courage, and love. Before they moved on, she whispered softly to the camera, a strategic call for the audience. If you stayed with us through this nightmare, subscribe now. The full truth is coming, and you won't believe what we've uncovered next. Her words carried the weight of survival and the promise of revelation, setting the stage for the final shocking discoveries. Emily and her children stood outside the hidden entrance, gasping for fresh air, their faces streaked with dirt and tears. The night was silent, the kind of quiet that follows storms or disasters. But Emily's mind was far from calm. She clutched the documents tightly, knowing that what she carried could expose decades of horrifying experiments. She slowly scanned facility entrance, recalling every corridor, every crystal, every creature they had encountered. Project Orpheum wasn't just a failed experiment. It was a deliberate attempt to create enhanced predators capable of intelligence and adaptation. The creature that had chased them was only one of many, a product of unethical ambition and unimaginable cruelty. As she looked over the documents, Emily discovered a file she hadn't noticed earlier. Project Orphean Subject Chronology. Her stomach twisted. Names, dates, and experiment logs filled page after page, some detailing the transformation of human subjects into hybrid, enhanced predators. One subject had survived decades in the tunnels. Intelligent, strategic, and deadly, Emily realized with horror that the creature hunting them had been a child, just like hers, experimented on and mutated into a weapon. She felt tears sting her eyes as she whispered, horrified, It was someone like us once." The full weight of the project's evil pressed down on her. This wasn't a monster born naturally. It was a human corrupted by greed and science gone horribly wrong. The documents revealed something even more chilling. The facility had been fully operational for decades, hidden from the world. Survivors from the early experiments had been tracked, manipulated, and in some cases, exterminated to maintain secrecy. Emily's pulse raced as she realized that they were part of a long line of witnesses who had almost vanished without a trace. The tunnels weren't random. They were a labyrinth designed to contain these creations, to test them, and to eliminate anyone who got too close. Her children clung to her sides, sensing her tension, and Emily silently vowed that she would survive not just to protect them, but to expose a horrific truth. A flicker of movement in the distance caught her eye. Emily tensed, heart hammering. The creature had not left. Somehow, it had followed them even outside the main tunnels, patiently waiting, calculating. Her mind raced. Was it seeking revenge, or simply reacting to instinct? She remembered the glowing eyes in the containment chamber and the pulsing blue crystals. They weren't just decorative. They were amplifiers, possibly connected to the subject's enhanced senses. Emily realized the full danger. Even though they had escaped the facility proper, the predator was still active, still aware, and still lethal. She whispered to the children to stay close, her voice steady despite terror threading through it. Emily began explaining to herself and to her children what she had learned from the documents. The experiments had sought to combine human intelligence with animal strength and reflexes. Only a handful of subjects had survived, and they had been trained, adapted, and released into the tunnels to test containment strategies. The creature's hunting behavior was not random. It was controlled by decades of conditioning and genetic modification. Emily's mind reeled. She realized that the world outside had no idea of the horrors buried underground. Her role now was not just to escape, but to survive and expose the deadly secret. The documents were proof. They were evidence that could stop the nightmare from repeating. As the night deepened, Emily saw distant flashes of movement, the telltale sign of the creature stalking them. Adrenaline surged through her. She led the children to a hidden ravine near the facility, one of the few natural features that could shield them from pursuit. Her heart pounded as she recalled every detail of the tunnels, the pathways, the chambers, the containment units, and how the creature had used them against them. She knew it was only a matter of time before it adapted again. Emily tightened her grip on her children's hands, whispering reassurances, even as her own fear surged. Survival had brought them this far, but the revelation of Orphean's experiments made it clear their ordeal was far from over. Emily spread out the documents on a flat rock, explaining in simple terms to her children what they had uncovered. Names, dates, the experiments, and the horrifying transformations. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with determination. The children listened wide-eyed, horrified yet fascinated by the truth. Emily realized that this knowledge, as terrifying as it was, could empower them to understand what they had endured. She whispered quietly to herself that they could not allow the project to remain a secret any longer. The world needed to know the truth of Project Orphean. Survival alone was not enough. They had to bring the evidence to light. Emily's thoughts were interrupted by a distant growl, reminding her that the predator could still be near. She quickly gathered the children and moved toward the forest line beyond the ravine. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound amplified. Her children clung to her, exhausted but trusting. Emily realized the creature's intelligence and conditioning meant they could not simply outrun it. They had to remain unpredictable, careful, and silent. She glanced at the documents one last time, knowing that if they survived, These papers could expose a decades-long nightmare. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders, yet it also gave her resolve. Finally, Emily saw a faint light in the distance. Civilization, streets, and the promise of safety. Relief surged through her body, but she kept her pace steady, knowing the creature could still be pursuing them. The night air felt alive, each sound amplified in her heightened awareness. The children followed obediently, exhausted but unafraid now, trusting in her determination. Emily felt a strange mix of exhaustion, fear, and fierce protection. The tunnels and experiments were behind them, but the truth would follow them forever. She promised herself that the horrors of Project Orpheon would not remain hidden. The world would know. Paragraph 010. As they stepped fully into the night, Emily turned one last time toward the facility. The shadows of the tunnels seemed to ride beneath the earth, hiding horrors beyond imagination. She whispered softly to her children, "We're safe now, but we must tell everyone what happened here." The documents in her hands held proof of monstrous experiments, human suffering, and the creation of something no one was meant to encounter. Emily's voice, trembling but determined, carried the weight of survival, courage, and justice. She knew their journey wasn't over. The truth had to be revealed, the world warned, and the secrets of Project Orpheon exposed. And with that, she led her children into the first rays of dawn, the beginning of a new chapter, and a mission to ensure that such horrors would never be hidden again. Emily led her children away from the hidden facility, their footsteps crunching on the gravel path beneath the moonlight. The air smelled sweet and fresh after the stale, metallic tang of the tunnels. Relief washed over them, but the memories of the underground horrors lingered, pressing heavily on her chest. She glanced at the documents tucked safely in her bag, proof of Project Orpheon's sinister experiments. Every detail, the tunnels, the creature, the containment units, was now evidence that the world had a right to know. Emily knew the road ahead would be long, and the consequences of exposing the truth could be immense. Yet, survival had given her purpose, justice of the victims and protection for her children. The children walked beside her, still trembling but quieter now. Emily's eldest whispered questions about the creature, the experiments, and why people had done such things. She explained carefully, in simple terms, that some adults had made terrible choices, and that their job now was to share the truth and make sure it never happened again. Her middle child clutched a small hand-drawn symbol they had seen in the tunnels, a reminder of the dangers they had survived. Emily smiled faintly, proud of their resilience. She realized that they had not only escaped death, but had also survived an experience that would shape them forever, giving them courage and wisdom beyond their years. Emily looked back once toward the darkened forest, the hidden entrance of the facility nearly swallowed by shadows. The memory of the tunnels and the creature haunted her, but she felt a profound sense of victory. They had faced unspeakable horrors and had come out alive. Her children were safe, and she carried the evidence of decades-long experiments. She whispered to herself that she would find a way to bring this story to the world, to warn others of the secrets that had been buried underground. Every scar, every tremor of fear, was a reminder of the truth they now possessed. Emily's mind churned with plans for survival, advocacy, and justice. As they reached the edge of the forest, a faint light of a nearby town appeared. The first sound of civilization, the distant hum of cars, the murmur of human voices, brought a strange comfort. Emily's children ran ahead, curiosity overcoming their exhaustion, pointing to the lights and buildings. Emily allowed herself a brief smile, feeling the weight of fear begin to lift. But she remained vigilant. She knew that Project Orpheon's reach could extend far beyond what they had seen. The creature might still roam the tunnels, and other horrors could remain hidden. Emily's resolve hardened. They would survive, and they would make sure the world knew the truth. Emily paused on a small hill overlooking the town. She pulled the children close and took a deep breath. She realized that the terrifying journey underground had changed her forever. The fear, adrenaline, and horror had forged a new strength inside her. She understood that survival wasn't just physical. It was mental, emotional, and moral. She promised herself that she would protect her children, expose the deadly secrets they had discovered, and ensure that such monstrous experiments would never be repeated. The journey of fear had ended, but the journey of justice was just beginning. She glanced at the bag containing the documents, the tangible proof of human cruelty and scientific perversion. Emily knew that the world had to see them, that authorities and journalists would need this evidence. The files contained not just the story of a creature, but the story of countless victims, and the dangerous ambitions of those who had sought to manipulate life itself. Emily whispered quietly, almost to the audience, "This is a truth and it must be shared." The weight of responsibility pressed on her, but so did the clarity of purpose. She had survived, and now it was time for justice. The children, sensing the tension in her voice, stayed close, holding her hands tightly. Emily knelt down, looking each of them in the eye, silently promising that they would heal, that they would be safe, and that their ordeal would not be forgotten. She reminded herself that the trauma of the tunnels would linger, but the bond between them had strengthened beyond measure. They had faced death together, confronted a creature born of human greed and scientific recklessness, and survived. Their journey was a testament to courage, love, and the unbreakable will of a mother determined to protect her children. Emily's eyes fell on the horizon where the sun was beginning to rise. A new day, a new beginning. She realized that the horror of Project Orphean had almost claimed them, but now the secret was theirs to reveal. The documents, the memories, the experience, all formed a story that could prevent future tragedies. She whispered softly, "We survived, and now the world will know." Her children hugged her tightly, and for the first time in hours, they felt truly safe. The darkness of the tunnels remained behind them, but the lessons, the fear, and the courage would stay forever. Before moving toward the town, Emily turned to the camera once more, a calm but firm voice carrying the weight of survival and revelation. If you followed our story, if you felt the fear, the courage, and the truth, subscribe now. Share this story. Help the world understand what's hidden beneath. Her voice trembled slightly, but the determination was undeniable. The journey had been harrowing, the horrors unimaginable, but their survival was proof that even in the darkest places, courage and love could prevail. She adjusted the bag with the documents, ready to carry the evidence to the light of the world. Finally, Emily led her children down the hill into the town, each step a small victory over fear and darkness. The facility, the tunnels, the creature, they were all behind them, yet their story would live on. Emily knew that the truth of Project Orphean would shake the world and honor the memory of those who had perished. Her children walked beside her, tired but safe, and for the first time, hope outweighed terror. The night had been conquered, survival secured, and justice awaited. Emily whispered once more, almost to herself, "We are alive, and now the world will see the truth." Their journey ended, but the story, the shocking revelation of Orphean, was only just beginning.